Hello and welcome. My name is Colin Smith. I'm pianist and music teacher at Wonderland Performing Arts. Today we'll be going through some piano practices, such as scales, ear training, improvisation at the piano, and a little bit of music history. Join me as we explore the keyboard world. Now then, first on our list is scales. The use of scales is very important. If you are going to learn a piece in a certain key, you need to know those scales. So perhaps if I was starting in the key of G, I would have to know the patterns of this key, and so forth. It is crucial to learn these patterns because then you know which fingers to put where. And then learning the piece becomes very simple. Classical music has a certain proclivity to patterns and sensible use of the keyboard. Fingering, however, is rather arbitrary. That is to say, one can argue which is a good fingering. Sensibly, to fit the scale into the piece, it's a portion of fingering we already know. But perhaps my fingers are larger than someone else's. That person might have a different fingering. Thus, we shall look together at the C major scale. Now, we're going to start on C and number our fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now follow if you will. 1, 2, 3, cross under with finger 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if you can't see the cross, watch here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to come down with finger 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cross over with finger 3, 2, 1. There we are. Let's try the whole thing in one fell swoop. Notice how my wrist is not too low and not too high. Just above the keys. That way the fingers are down but the wrist is up. This allows gravity to help you. And once we cross, the fingers go immediately into their position, as they should. Good for you. Now let's come down. And see as we cross, the hand moves back into position. This is the right hand. Let's try with the left hand. Same principle. But instead of starting with finger 1, we start with finger 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Watch. Crossing with the third finger. And then we're going to come down. Crossing under with the thumb. And notice how the fingers go right into position as they should. Let's try again. Patterns at the piano repeat themselves, as should the patterns of your scale. So if you wish, you may go up as many octaves as you like. Now then, we'll finish showing off later. Let's return our eyes to the keyboard and to a tool I like to call ear training. Ear training is rather simple. You listen and you notice things. I wonder if you can see me. Let's try again. That's better. Now then, a major key is nice and happy and light. A minor key is perhaps darker, maybe a bit sad. Now then, I'll play 2 in a row and you see if you can guess which is which. Listen again. Now, if you think we went from major to minor, you're correct. Now then, let's try this. Listen again. Now, if you guessed that we went from minor to major, you're right again. Once more. Now, can you guess? Again, we've gone from major to minor. Nicely done. Now then, let's talk a little bit about different chords, like diminished. We have what we call diminished chords for the uses of tension and release in music. Tension and release. You can't end a song like this. It has to go somewhere. And Mozart likes to beat us over the head with that. The end is here! Here's the end! Anyway, now what we have is diminished chords. These are very small arrangements of thirds, lots of tension inside. Augmented is a little bit different. It sounds like a sort of a mysterious sound. Now then, see if you can tell the difference. What about this? Now, there's lots of tension here. Obviously, this is a diminished chord. Let's move on. Let's do this. Mysterious, right? That's because it's an augmented chord. Let's try again. Oh, well, if you said diminished, you're right. Good for you. What about this one? Mysterious, wouldn't you say? Yes, augmented is correct. Now then, let's move on to a little bit of finished and unfinished. Phrases in music can be finished or unfinished. Oh, that must be unfinished. You can't leave it there. That would be mean. Now then, I want you to see if you can guess which phrase is finished and which is unfinished. Listen. If you said finished, you are correct. Finished is correct. I have it written down here. I have the answers. What about this one? Nice and finished, right? There's this tension and release back to where we came from. So it does sound a nice finished job. Oh, what about this? Doesn't quite sound finished to me. Now then, I believe we should have a nice little intermission. So, sit back, relax, and listen. bit of Chopin, Prelude, Opus 26, number 16, I think. Anyway, it's a nice happy key, isn't it? Let's move on to a little bit of improvisation. Improvisation at the piano comes in many forms. You may make a rhythm, and you can make up the notes. You don't have to create too small a box to create. If you are coloring pages, you color within the lines, don't you? Some of us color outside the lines. But that said, you have a box in which you create. You follow a certain amount of guidelines. So, make up one for yourself. Let's fix this because it's bothering me. Let's play only on the black keys. If you're at your piano now, good for you. If you're not, go get to the piano. Quickly. Now, I want you to play only on the black keys. Join me, and I'll count us in together. Remember, only the black keys. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, go! Look at you. Now then, I would like you to join me again, but only play on the white keys. It can be any white keys you imagine. It does not matter to me. Any order, any tempo. You choose, but only the white keys. Now then, let's go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Nicely done. Now I believe it's time for a little bit of music history, if you will join me in the next trick. Born in 1867, Amy Beach is one of the finest composers of the late 19th and 20th centuries. She began singing at age 1, can you imagine? Began improvisation at the piano at age 2 and taught herself to read at age 3. Her parents were naturally musical, so it's only right that they should have her take lessons. She began to write waltzes when she was visiting family at the age of 4. But without the presence of a piano, she'd have to make it up in her head and maybe jot some notes down. Then later, coming back from vacation into the family home, she would write them at the piano. Very interesting, to have to keep them in your head for that long. She was, let's say, she had a certain proclivity towards being independent. Her mother did not want her to play the piano as much, for fear that it would be all she ever did. But Amy decided to play exactly what she wanted, no matter what anyone else said. I rather like that. She translated musical theory textbooks by Berlioz and Givon at the age of 8, translating herself from French to English so she could learn about the piano. How fancy. Her concert debut was at the age of 16. She performed until the age of 18 when she was to be married. She married a doctor some 10 years older, and as a respectable Victorian wife, refrained from teaching. It was not so for the woman to earn a living, as though it might present a sense of poverty. that the woman was earning pin money on the side because the gentleman in the family was not wise enough. So she limited herself to 2 concerts a year until her husband's death in 1917, I believe. After that, she went to tour Europe. She took a vacation for a while and then began touring Europe with various and sundry sopranos. I don't remember who they are. They're not that important. After marriage, she came back to America in 1920 and went to study at the MacDowell Colony, a sort of artist hub in upstate New York. She is actually credited with transcribing the bird call of a hermit thrush. And if you've ever listened to the piece Hermit Thrush at Eve and Hermit Thrush at Morn, you can tell how accurately the notes mimic the bird call. It's fantastic. It really is. Let's see. In the 1920s. She passed away in 1944 in New York City, and she is buried with her husband in Boston, Massachusetts. I heartily recommend you listen to her music. She is one of the greatest women composers and is rather interesting. Now it is time that we say goodbye. Today's episode is brought to you by the symbol mezzo forte, which means medium loud, and by a quote from Booker T. Washington. You measure the size of the accomplishment by the obstacles you had to overcome to reach your goals. Now then, thank you for joining us, and I'll see you soon.